Alright, here is a lesson on solving absolute value equations. And basically, the difference between solving for an absolute value equation and solving for a normal equation is that we're going to have different cases we have to solve for. And what I mean by that is a case 1 and a case 2. And where we actually derive this from is the problem that's listed here, solve for x. Well, we know that absolute value stands for the distance from 0. Well, there are two numbers that x could be to make that true, right? There is 5. So case 1, x could equal 5. But in case 2, x could also equal -5. Because both of those numbers are 5 units away from 0. So x equals 5 or x equals -5. Those would be your two answers. Okay, so here's one, two different answers. Okay, now this is the most basic level. We can take this a little step further, as we always do, right? Okay, now we have something else going on in this equation. We have an absolute value, x plus 2 equals 4. Okay, so whenever we see absolute value, we want to make sure we set up two cases. Case 1 and case 2. Basically, you're just going to solve an equation twice. We're going to take this, and we know one thing. Either this has to come out to 4, or it has to come out to -4. All right? So let's say that this case, do this. Case 1, that thing can equal 4. Case 2, it could equal -4. So we're going to take the inside and solve this equation. And solve this equation. Because we know we can get two different answers here. It's either got to be 4 or -4. So what does x have to be to make this equal 4? Well, we just solve a one-step equation. And x equals 2. So there's one of my solutions, and you can check that. 2 plus 2 is 4. And the absolute value of 4 is 4. So we're good there. Alright, so let's check the second one. We're going to solve the same equation in the same fashion, except for we're going to get a different answer. So -4 minus 2 is -6. This should also be one of my solutions. Let's check. If I put -6 in for x, I get -6 plus 2, which is -4, and the absolute value of -4 is 4. So there are two solutions there. You can kick it up one more notch. Alright? If you run into this particular problem, one thing I want to warn you about is you do not do a distributive property. Okay? You can only do the distributive property when you have parentheses. If it's an absolute value, we're going to go about this a little bit differently. The first thing we're going to do is divide by 4 on both sides. And you're going to see that we get the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 4. And again, well, this is the same problem that we just solved back on this screen. But you can see how we manipulated that and turned it into this by dividing by 4 first. So basically, if there's anything going on around the outside of your absolute value, you want to take care of that first and get rid of it. Alright, so we just solved this one on the previous screen. I just wanted to show you how you set it up. From here, you can do your case 1 and case 2. But like I said, this is the exact same problem on the previous slide. And lastly, alright, what if you have something like this? As I said before, if there's anything going on outside of your absolute value, you want to get rid of that first. So since we're adding 2, I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. Okay? And now, once you have your absolute value alone or isolated on one side, you're going to set up your case 1 and case 2. So case 1 is usually the positive case, where this is going to equal 19. So we'll set it equal to 19. 3a minus 5 equals 19. Case 2 is when this equals negative 19. Because remember, the absolute value of both of these gives us 19. So that's why we have to solve both cases. So case 2 says 3a minus 5 equals negative 19. It's basically taking the inside and setting it equal to 19 and the opposite of 19. So then we solve these equations and we should get our answers, and that's pretty much it. So we try to isolate A, and we get A equals 8 on this side. And over here, do the same thing. And then negative 19 plus 5 is negative 14, so this doesn't work out as well as it did on the other side. So we'll divide by 3. And you could leave your answer as negative 14 thirds if you want to, or you could turn that into a mixed number as well. Now you can go back and check those out, and they should work, but that is how we solve for absolute value equations.